If you watch Healthcare Triage, it won't come as news that fat and cholesterol aren't likely as bad as everyone says. And sugar may be worse. What is news this week is how much bad behavior got us thinking the opposite is true. This is Healthcare Triage News. Evidently, a postdoctoral researcher at the UCSF School of Dentistry named Kristen Kearns was digging through some archives when she stumbled on a treasure trove of documents. They were from the 1960s, and many of them originated with the Sugar Research Foundation. These were internal documents, historical reports, and statements concerning the early debates of the dietary causes of congestive heart disease. In 1965, the Sugar Research Foundation sponsored its first research project, published in the New England Journal of Medicine. It argued that fat and cholesterol were the primary causes of congestive heart disease, and that sucrose, or sugar, didn't really carry much risk. You have to remember, as we've discussed before, that by the 1960s, there were two key theories for how nutrition influenced congestive heart disease. The first, fathered by Ansel Keys, argued that total fat, saturated fat, and cholesterol were to blame. The second, pushed forth by John Yudkin, argued that sugar was to blame. This was a war, and tons of money and profit were at stake. Dr. Kearns found correspondence between the Sugar Research Foundation and Roger Adams, a professor who also served on the SRF's advisory board from 1959 to 1971. She also found correspondence between the SRF and Mark Hegsted, a professor of nutrition at Harvard School of Public Health. It seems that Yudkin's research was making the SRF panic, so they proposed that they could start a new program to counter negative attitudes towards sugar. In 1965, the SRF asked Frederick Stare, the chair of the Harvard University School of Public Health Nutrition Department, to join the Scientific Advisory Board. On July 23, 1965, 2 days after a big New York Herald Tribune article highlighted the link between sucrose and heart disease, the SRF approved Project 226. It sounds like something out of a spy movie, but bear with me. Project 226 was a literature review by Hegsted and McGandy, overseen by Stare. They initially offered them a little bit of money, but they eventually received $6,500, which is almost $50,000 today, for writing the paper. They were provided with articles that attacked sugar, likely so they could contradict them. At every stage, the SRF stressed that they wanted the attacks on carbs debunked. The authors made it clear they understood. The work got delayed because each time a new article came out attacking sugar, they had to revise the paper to rebut that new work. The SRF reviewed it periodically. On November 2nd, 1966, they told Hegsted, and I'm quoting, "Let me assure you, this is quite what we had in mind, and we look forward to its appearance in print." Project 226 led to a two-part literature review published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 1967. No mention was made at all about the SRF's funding or involvement in the work. It consistently discounted findings, even those from randomized controlled trials, that said fat reduction didn't work or that sugar reduction did. It overstated the results of studies that said the opposite. The conclusion was that there was no doubt that the only nutritional interventions needed to prevent congestive heart disease was to reduce dietary cholesterol and substitute polyunsaturated fat for saturated fat. It's rare you get a smoking gun like this. It's clear that the funders, industry, knew the results they wanted, and it's clear that the researchers understood that. Maybe they still thought they were correct, but no one knew about the ties and no one got to discuss the potential conflicts of interest. Until now. 50 years later, after untold damage may have been done. Healthcare Triage is supported in part by viewers like you through Patreon.com, a service that allows you to support the show through a monthly donation. We'd especially like to thank our research associate Joe Sevitz and our Surgeon Admiral Sam. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Sam. More information can be found at patreon.com/healthcaretriage.